Welcome to a Trucker's Mind podcast. I'm Eddie McGee.
It's your boy K Things.
And we're back, man. Episode 378.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get right into it. Happy Father's Day, first and foremost.
Yeah, man.
There was one day where you had a couple too many drinks and you guys went back to your place and, I forgot my condom. And now your kids are here, right?
Yeah.
So shout out to you, Dad, right? Never pulling out on time. And now you might have 4 or 5 kids.
Yeah.
Right. So God bless you for not pulling out, and God bless you for, being a beacon, or not a beacon, but an example of what it means to be a man and a leader. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it means a lot to be a father, especially when my dad's not here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I seen a lot of people, having fun with their dad and stuff and taking pictures of him. And I was just like, God bless you. It came from a place of just being grateful for the time that I had with my father. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, shout out to y'all, man. Keep busting nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Father's Day is a big deal, and I think there was a lot of love this year. I thought that sometimes Father's Day is the kind of the backhanded kind of holiday in comparison to Mother's Day and stuff like that. But I felt like a lot of people were showing a lot of love today. To their fathers and stuff like that. I've seen a lot of people at the parks barbecuing and things like that. And, I think the Father's Day typically is more of an event versus Mother's Day, which is generally more like, you do have it's still an event, but I think Mother's Day is more like gift driven. And Father's Day is kind of more like time, like quality time driven. So, shout out to all the fathers out there that's taking care of their kids and, the ones that's just trying to hold it down, because I think that we know, as me as a 30-something-year-old, and we just know the importance of a father, and
absolutely,
and like the ramifications of them not being there. So, I think that anybody that's like taking care of their kids, like I seen a guy, he was pushing his stroller to the car. I didn't see a woman around, and, I don't know his situation, but I just seen him he was really being a dad, you know what I mean? Talking to his kid and, putting him in the car by himself and stuff like that. And I just turned around. I was like, Happy Father's Day, man. And, I just think it's a beautiful thing when you see somebody out there really taking care of their responsibilities.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, there's that. Not a whole lot else to say about Father's Day. Mm-hmm. Last week, you guys listened to the episode. I had to hold it down by myself because Keith was in Jamaica with that goddamn lobster from The Little Mermaid. He was hanging out with Sebastian and whatnot. So Keith, how was that? Also, being a newly married man. Yeah. I was at that wedding, obviously, and I was just at the wedding and being supportive, and then I started crying. Which I did not expect. Right. Yeah. But I just think that when you've seen someone from being a very young boy to becoming a man and getting married, I think that's where it hit me. I don't cry at weddings in general, but it was probably just because it was Keith, Yeah. But yeah, man, it was a beautiful event. It was just beautiful, man. It was a great way to start the week. It was on a Monday. Right. I had to go to work the next day, but it made my work week easier. When you start off a week with family and love, and sure. You know what I'm saying? It's a great, and tacos, and some tacos there. Them slices of cake was fire, bro. Really? It's like chocolate cake.
Yeah, you mess with it.
Oh, I got like 3 slices of cake. I was like, crazy. Fuck it. I might as well, had a couple Michelobs, some cake, tacos. Yeah. I was definitely shitting the next day for sure. That's funny. Yeah.
But, yeah. No, it was cool. I think, we had spent like the early part of the day, getting ready and stuff like that. And I would say getting married is great, obviously. Like, you get to like spend the rest of your life with the person you love and stuff like that. But actually putting a wedding together is a lot of work. It's a lot of meetings. It's a lot of choices. It's a lot of tension when it comes to the colors you're picking and, what you want to wear and, how many people are going to be there. And then there's also a cost. It costs a lot of money to costs a lot of money to have a wedding. You know, thousands and thousands of dollars as far as like attire and cake and, you know, like venues and different vendors and photographers and videographers and all these different things. So just being able to put that, you know, just to reach the final destination, I guess you would say, is it's like a feat in itself. But yeah, we got there, and like I think for me, it was like everything was just kind of like so fast. Like, you know, you get there and then you get dressed and then, you know, she's walking down the aisle and then, you know, you say your vows and things like that. But yeah, it was, I would say for me, it was everything that I wanted. It didn't go exactly as planned, but like the idea of it. Like I wanted it to be like my friends and family there. I wanted everybody to have a good time. I wanted it to be like an event, like a lot of people just like, you know, coming, like community. And I think that we kind of like, we made good on that idea. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I think it was really cool, especially hearing my wife's vows. It definitely made me cry, and it was almost like everything that I needed to hear from like the person that like I plan on spending the rest of my life with. And I imagine like her the same. Like, you know, when you've been with somebody for so long, you kind of know what they need and what they desire in, you know, in a partner, and, you know, what they desire for the rest of their life. So, you know, we were able to kind of make promises in that regard. And, yeah, I think it was a beautiful thing. It was one of those things where like post wedding, like people are still talking about it. And I got married on June 2nd, you know what I mean? And it's like, what is it? The 5th, it'll be the 16th when this thing drops. So yeah, it's like literally people still like I went to church today, and, you know, some of my boys asking me like, yo, how does it feel? And, you know, like, what did you expect? And like, how did you do this? And how did, you know, just asking me questions about it. And I didn't really expect that. I didn't have an expectation about like how the people would like speak about it in the aftermath of it all. But yeah, it's crazy that it's still kind of like, it's a conversation. Like when people see me like, hey man, you know, people seeing me telling me congratulations and stuff like that. And I don't know. I somebody asked me like, so how do you feel? And I was like, honestly, I feel like mature. I feel like a grown up now. You know what I mean? Like I think before, when you're like just dating, there's nothing wrong with that, obviously. But when you're just dating, it's cool. But like once you kind of like step into marriage, it's like that's it. You know, that's that decision. That's that contract to spend the rest of your life with somebody. So really cool. Like in terms of just being married and, you know, the biblical ramifications of that. But then also like, I'm so glad that like everybody had a good time. Like that's what I genuinely wanted. Yeah,
absolutely. Mm-hmm. I think it was, is the mic down? I can't hear myself really. But anyways, I think personally, it was dope. It's just dope to see that. I think as a man, ultimately, your objective is to find a decent woman, right?
Right.
And I just think in general, finding decent people in today's society is not as easy as people make it. Most motherfuckers be marrying just anybody. Mm-hmm. You know, that you go to the wedding's great, right? Mm-hmm. And I've been to some weddings before, and I'm like, yeah, they not gonna make it. I'm not that guy, but I'm like, God damn, there's no way.
Yeah.
Right. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Yeah, outside of that, man, it was just a great time for everybody, man, to witness that and be around family and make it official in front of everybody. But I'm going to say this, though, too. This is something I do have to mention. If you do have a woman you genuinely care about and you've been together for a little bit, it's important to marry her for this reason. Because if it's some dudes that's been with a woman for like 11, 12 years and they not married. If you pull that, all her friends gonna hate you, my nigga.
Yeah. And I will say, I will say to that point, like, just being married myself now for a few weeks, it's not the same. It's not like, you know, you'll hear the people say like, oh, we kind of like domestic partners, like we've been together so long, like, because when you're just dating somebody, they're just your girlfriend. Technically, in the eyes of the law,
You're single.
You're still a single person, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, but then you realize, like, when you're just dating, like, there's always an out. Like, you can always just break up. Like, all right, we don't have, some people have kids, but like, let's say you just dating, you don't got kids or nothing like that, and you may just you may have an apartment together or something.
Yeah.
You could just be like, all right, like, let's just split. Like, I'll take the dog, you'll take the plants, and then we just move on like that.
Yeah.
So there's always that out when you're not married.
I think the age thing matters too. When you're very young, let's say you met in high school or something. If you met in high school and you were 16, 17, and you've been with her for like 7 years, not married, then I get it, because you guys are super young.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of got that excuse. But when you're in your 30s, you know what I'm saying, and you found a girl and y'all really locked in, you got to marry her, bro. Because the truth of the matter is this. You could risk not marrying her, and your punishment going to be every woman after her, bro. I'm telling you. And that goes both ways. If you got cold feet, and if you've been with somebody for years, and let's say I ask her to marry me, and she's like, I'm not ready, I'm just gonna leave her.
Dang.
If some people might not agree with that, but if you got cold feet and we've been together a few years and I ask you to marry me, I'm gonna say, hey, it's not gonna work.
It's not.
Because if you're not sure if you want to marry me, we don't need to be together no more.
Yeah, after a certain point, like, especially when you're in your 30s, like, it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, because it's a waste of everybody's time. Mm-hmm. Now, for me, especially at the age of 40 years old, I'm not going to be real super quick to marry somebody. But if I'm with a chick and it's over a year, and it's a year and a couple months, and I'm evaluating and running this back, especially if I fuck around and get her pregnant, then I'm just going to be ring shopping at that point.
Yeah.
Because getting a woman pregnant is literally marriage. Mm-hmm. Think about this. You've literally created a bond with a woman for the rest of your life. It's that child. Right. So if I have created a child with you, I'm going to get a ring as soon as possible.
Yeah.
We gonna be at the motherfucking wedding, pregnant as a motherfucker.
Yeah.
That's the thing, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be able to make a decision as a man. I just think it's the right thing to do. Because everybody on the outside looking in gonna be like, well, why is he not doing this, or why is this not happening, or why is this? And the truth of the matter is, there's some like, everybody's timing is different, but there is some relevance to it.
Yeah.
You go over a certain amount of time, it's like, are you not sure or not if you want to marry this person, or what are your plans for this person?
I think that I was talking to my cousin, and he was like, in so many words, he was saying, like, you brought back hope for me, like that there is, like, real love out there. And I think that to that I would say, like, I think it's important. One, like, my marriage is not perfect and my relationship is not perfect. It's probably far from it. And I would say, like, one, marriage is a decision. It's a decision that you make that you're going to spend, essentially that you're going to try or attempt to love somebody unconditionally. But I think it's important too that, like, people have, like, examples of, like, healthy relationships. Because I feel like there's so many bad relationships that we have, whether it's, like, grandparents, parents, aunts, uncles. Like, you see a lot of, like, some wild stuff where people getting together and breaking up, and multiple divorces and all these different things.
Yeah.
And, I haven't been through the years of it, so I can't really speak to, like, the longevity aspect. But just in terms of, like, for younger people, 20-something-year-olds, to be able to see, like, what a healthy relationship looks like. Like, one of my good friends that came to the wedding, like, he was just, kind of just, he was, I don't know the term. For lack of a better term, I'm going to say amazed. But he was just, like, amazed or in awe of, like, the whole like, wedding in itself, and just, like, how we were towards one another and things like that. And I think for him, it's important to see that, because he's a young guy in a relationship. And I think a lot of times you could just be in a relationship, like we were talking about, for, like, 10, 15 years, and you just kind of going through the motions. And you like, man, I don't really know, like, what I want to do. Like, it's you just kind of complacent in that way. But I think that, like, when you do see, like, what the young, black people can be in, like, be in relationships, and you could be young and you could be cool and you could be, like, getting to it. But you don't got to be out here chasing hoes and stuff like that.
Man,
Like,
I was about to go there.
You can really just be with one woman and be cool, and y'all could.
Yeah, I think the one woman at a time theory is better as you get older, because truth of the matter, I have a full-time job. I think that chasing women or trying to get with women is you should not make that another job.
Right.
I think the beautiful thing about being married to somebody would be that you eliminate that. And I think that, and I'm sure this is the same on the other side for women, but when you are a single man, you come across some of the most fucking morally bankrupt women ever. They talking to 9 different niggas.
Yeah.
And you can't even get to know them, because even if they like you, they forget about you because they talking to all these guys.
Yeah.
It's like, man, fuck all this. Like, I much rather be in a situation where I got, a woman I could come home to, and, we can have conversations and chill. And especially if you're blessed enough as a man to have a woman that caters to you, that makes your lunch, that washes your clothes, and, that you have conversations and just be chilling. Like, that, those people underestimate, especially men, they underestimate those conveniences you get from women.
Yeah. Like
when a woman is like traditionally feminine and wants to help you, I don't have that. I get off a 14, 15-hour shift sometimes, come home, and I'm like, man, I got to do my fucking laundry. Whereas, and I'm not saying a woman is just a fucking housemaid, but a person that cares about you does things. So vice versa. If I had a woman that's working and she's busy, I could take her car and get it serviced. I could fix her tires. I could, if she has a house, I cut her grass. That's what you're missing whenever you're single and dating. And most of these, like, I hate to say this, and I'm sure it's the other way around for women, they just want to get fucked. They don't even want anything serious. It's becoming it's like a dating pandemic.
Yeah.
The fact that you want something of substance, and they just want to like fuck and hang out and have a situationship and then start a new situationship.
Yeah. I
feel like the situationship in 2025 is it's like what people are like actively seeking now. It's strange, man.
Yeah.
I think that the number one thing I'll be glad about if I get married is I could just start rejecting women with my ring. Like, hey, how's it going? I'm married. Sorry. Goodbye.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting space. I think that it's a different world when you got that ring on your finger. And I think it's something that if anybody out there, you're in a relationship and it's been a few years and you think like you kind of got cold feet, I would say it's time for you to make a decision. Like it's you either want to move on or you want to make that decision, because and I'm not that person that's like, I hate, even in my relationship, it was like annoying, and just to be brutally honest, like annoying the amount of like aunts and uncles that were like pressing me about like, hey, what are you going to do? When are you guys going to get married? When are you guys going to have kids? Like, it's just annoying. But I will say that for anybody out there that is in that position where you've been with your partner for a few years and, you kind of like just kind of in limbo, like that's the next step, just moving into, because a lot of people, I know for me, like I did a lot of stuff, I would say backwards, but like we lived together before we got married and things like that. So, I didn't do it all the way traditional, but, when people are living together and doing all the other stuff, I feel like when people aren't getting married after that amount of time, it's generally because like they're afraid of that commitment. Like just because, like I said, when you're in a relationship and you're not married, there's always an out that you can run to. Like when you get into an argument, it's like, all right, cool. This is you have a confirmation bias towards like your relationship. Like, see, This is exactly what I thought it would be. I'm out of here or whatever. But once you get married and, you really locked in, And then I think it's important too, like not only for, like I was saying, setting an example for my younger friends and family, but also setting an example for like your children, so they can see like what a healthy relationship looks like. Because a lot of us were raised by broken families, separated parents, divorced parents, parents that got remarried a few times and things like that. So I just think it's important for your kids to be raised in a healthy household, because that's the thing that's going to set them up for success the most.
Bring families back.
Amen.
Make families great again.
Like the 90s.
Yeah. When I think about families, I think about even how I grew up, you know, with my mom and dad. But I think about Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I think about Full House.
Right.
I think about Family Matters. I think about Home Improvement. I think about Family Ties. Family was promoted in the 90s. It was all over the TV.
Yeah.
We had family shows that we watched as family in the 90s.
Yeah.
Nowadays, all people promote is brokenness and broken homes.
Yeah.
I've heard people say like, there's nothing wrong with co-parenting. That's like the new thing now. I'm fine. Like, stop it.
Yeah.
But you're shortchanging your kids. They need to see men and women collaborating and fixing problems in the household. That's one of the biggest issues with dating. Is there's too many single parent households, and when they get out in the world dating, they just feel like they don't need nobody, especially women.
Yeah.
Women need a strong male role model, and men need a strong female role model to grow up, because the truth of the matter is your mother should be an example of a woman you would marry.
Right.
And vice versa. Your father should be an example of a man that you would like to marry.
For sure.
And what happens is you get older, you don't got no dad in the house, or you ain't got no mom there or nothing. You don't have any you just flying by the fucking wind.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, I don't know, man. I just think that I appreciate Keith and his wife because they're doing it the right way, man. Mm-hmm. And I think that, you know, whenever they do have children, they could use them themselves as an example.
Right.
But yeah, man, there's that.
Yeah. So I mean, after the wedding, like the next day, we went to Jamaica, and
that's
you know,
right.
I won't spend too much time on the vacation aspect of it all, but I just think, like, you know, you hear Charlemagne, like different guys. He always talks about, like, where'd he go, LaGuardia or something like that. He has
he went to oh my God, I forgot. It's a place he goes all the fucking time. But
yeah, it's something that has that kind of like that,
I know,
like a certain name. I think LaGuardia might be an airport in New York or something. But
yeah.
anyways, he has a specific country that he goes to, you know, all the time, and he talks about, you know, the place and how much he loves it and stuff. I feel like when I visited Jamaica, it was really cool. Like I was on the resort, and you know, being on a resort, you're gonna get like the cookie cutter like version of any sort of country. Like, you're not gonna get the real version of Jamaica. So we were on the resort, and like it was dope. Like, you know, hospitality was great. The beach is beautiful. Like the food is really good. It's all inclusive, so you don't pay anything. Like, you know, you just pay for your you pay a flat fee, and then you get to eat and dine and everything for that same rate. But then if you want to do like extracurricular stuff, like you could go on boat rides and stuff like that. But we ended up going on a tour, and it was so dope. Like the tour guy was just giving us a bunch of information, and like, yo, Oprah stays over here when she comes out here. This is Ralph Lauren's house right here. Lennox Lewis lives over here. Johan Blake, the track star, lives over here. Like, it's just a bunch of like people that actually come from like America and other places, and they actually like either have homes there, or, you know, some people live like out there like half of the year, just during certain seasons, and they buy property out there and stuff like that. It's a very humbling space to be in, because like, of course, you know, it's not the wealthiest country in the world, so you have a lot of people that are like living in poverty and stuff out there, but they don't look at it as like lesser than. That's just kind of the way that they live, you know. And I think that you know, they have a great outlook on life. Like, they have certain sayings that, you know, just you know how like the Bob Marley song, like, every little thing is gonna be all right. Like, that's really how they live their life. Like, they don't we may view them as like living in a ghetto, but they just view that as like just life. And I think that's like, you know, that's a beautiful way of looking at life, because I feel like a lot of times in America, when you don't got the new pants and the new clothes and stuff like that, you can just be like, dang, dog, I want that. But yeah.
And they got some weird ass names for the alcohol, because Keith posted it in the chat. That shit was crazy.
Yeah, I forgot. It was like Big Black Dick or something.
Yeah,
like
the name of the alcohol they had, I guess it's a popular brand. The name of it is Big Black Dick. It's a legit alcohol. It's a wine or something?
I don't know what kind of alcohol it is, but yeah.
Just look up that Jamaican alcohol on your Google search. But you gotta make sure you delete that search after you look it up. Which is kind of weird.
You don't want your lady like picking up your phone to check the time and it's Big Black Dick in the Google search.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. Your wife looks at your phone. I knew it.
Ha!
He's like, oh.
I knew you was zesty. Zesty man.
Keith was out there in Jamaica. Every turn was like, blim, 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 blim. I bet. I just imagine Jamaica sounds like one big Mario world.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, man. Let's go ahead and move on. Shout out to Keith.
Yeah.
All right. Switching gears. Kai Cenat. Recently, Kai Cenat was at the BET Awards, and he came across rapper Wale and did not know who he was. But you have to understand, there is a huge age gap between these two. And Wale is almost 41 years old. And Kai Cenat I think he's only like 23. So let me go ahead and read this here. Streamer Kai Cenat is addressed in the awkward moment between, where he ran into Wale at the 2025 BET Awards without recognizing the DMV rapper. Cenat looked to his beloved chat Thursday, June 12th, to address the moment, saying that he hopes Wale didn't take the snub to heart. I'm going to go ahead and say, Wale, I hope you didn't take my interaction personal. How can you blame me for being who I am? You feel me? I'm young. He then proceeded to play Wale's single Lotus Flower Bomb featuring Miguel, saying that he knows the song, but then questions what year did it drop, which is 2011. He says, I was 9 years old. Mm-hmm. So, look, at the end of the day, with Wale literally walked up to him while he was live streaming and says, hey, man, you going to have me out here looking crazy, man. Come on, man. Like, basically, almost like you should know who I am. There's a lot of ego in that. You're a 40-year-old man and you're so sensitive that, you know, somebody not knowing you bothers you. I think that there's a certain insecurity that already exists in Wale, because Wale back in the day, Wale was scorching hot, bro. Like he was on fire. Not like, okay, I got to rephrase that. It sounds kind of gay. But his career.
Fire
yeah.
Up in here.
It's burning gay. But him, Drake, and like Kid Cudi at one time were like the top three artists. Mm-hmm. Like in like 2009, that was like a lane where it's Drake, Wale, and Absolute. And then, and believe it or not, behind them was like B.O.B. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So he went from having that type of recognition to kind of like losing that steam over the years. Mm-hmm. So I think that he knows that, and by Kai Cenat not knowing who he was, it kind of affected his ego. God damn, it's getting late. Anyway, I think you got to check your ego at the door.
100%.
I think that you need to walk in the rooms and introduce yourself, because I remember people were saying when Beyonce walks in the room, she's like, how y'all doing? My name is Beyonce. How you doing? My name is Beyonce. How you doing? My name is Beyonce. Yeah. Like everybody pretty much culturally, even if you don't.
Like Donald Glover do the same thing. Like,
yeah.
My name is Donald Glover.
I'm not going to assume you know who the fuck I am.
Right.
That's like me being in Bakersfield. We've been doing a podcast for 7 years. I've had people approach me in public from that listen to the podcast. Mm-hmm. And then I may not know exactly who they are. And then they'll be like, oh, yeah. You know, so I was like, yeah, I appreciate you. You know, thank you for listening. Yeah. Right. Just simply because I don't have that ego. I'm not no celebrity. I'm just a dude doing a fucking podcast. Right. So even if this podcast just became some super viral sensation, I just don't have the license to be offended because that you don't know me. If you don't know me, there are millions of people that exist outside of me. Why would I be offended by that? Right. Yeah. That's just dumb to be offended by that.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if Michael Jackson would introduce himself to somebody.
Nah, he just grabbed his nuts like, like Michael Jackson, stop grabbing your dick. We're at elementary school.
Nah,
God damn, Michael. Shit. One time, Michael Jackson literally was a bunch of kids in the audience. They're like, oh my God, Michael, crying. And then Michael Jackson went for the most epic nut grab I have ever seen. He's like, check out, ooh, ah. That nigga pulled from the back of his ass all the way to his nuts. He's like, check out, ooh. It's like he was loading up a shotgun, man. Damn. Rest in peace, Mike. Rest in peace. R.I.P. Mike. All right. Yeah.
No, I think that situation is a little odd. I feel like Kai was, I don't know. I can't really ever tell if he's being serious or not. So in that moment, I still don't genuinely know if he didn't know who Wale was or not. And I get the age discrepancy. But at the same time, like, you know, it's music. Music is extremely popular. When I was 9 years old, I was listening to like 50 Cent and all these guys, and I could definitely recognize 50 Cent walking through the mall. But the tricky part is Wale posted a picture of them at like a celebrity like flag football game. Yeah. And not to say that, you know, like, you know, that might have happened and, you know, he might not have, you know, really known who he was. They might have just popped up and was playing. But like, I think that I get, like, I understand Wale. Like, I understand for you to be like, dog, we've spoken before. We actually had conversations, and I wasn't even approaching you like, yo, like, what's up? How the family? You know, I was just more so saying, like, what's up? And you asked me the question about what game I was playing. I was just saying hi to you. And then you get in the car, and then you're like, oh, who's that? Like, you know, who's Wale? I just think I can understand how me as, like, if I'm Wale, I'm like, dog, like, why are you talking about me like that? Like, why, you know, why are you, it just sounded, it's one thing to not know who a person is. It's another thing to be like mispronouncing my name, even though like we've met before. I just think that that's a little wild.
However, this is the problem with Kai Cenat. He's only like 23 years old, and he's meeting a bunch of people every single fucking day. Imagine being 23, being just freaking inundated with new people, new celebrities, new people that you don't know. There was big artists walking up to Kai saying, how you doing? And his chat was telling like, oh, that was him? Is that who that was? So he's not special.
No, I get that. I completely understand, because it just happened to me where, I was at a graduation party, and my girl, she was like, it was one of her coworkers, and they were like, hi, congratulations, and then she introduced me or whatever, and I was like, oh, nice to meet you, and she was like, you met her before, and I was like, oh, okay, and you know, I put two and two together, but I actually remember how I knew her eventually. And I get that you meet a lot of people all the time. I just think, I personally think, I think Kai was playing him a little bit. And I think Wale might have got his feelings hurt, but I think that there's some merit to how Wale felt. I meet a lot of people all the time too. Like, you know, especially being in education, like you're meeting like students and teachers, and you're going to like different meetings, and we have like 22 schools in our district and all this kind of stuff where you're meeting all these different people. I think for me, my memory is a little bit different. Like, I may not remember everybody's name, but I'm not gonna forget like in what capacity I know you. So I think he was playing it. That's
the difference between you and Kai Cenat is the volume of people he meets is tremendously larger than you. So that's one of the problems. Also, being 23 and his brain is not fully developed, that's a terrible excuse. It's not an excuse. You're dealing with way more volume of people.
No. That part is like, it could be true. I don't know.
It is true. Your brain's not your frontal cortex.
That's a terrible excuse. There's people that are like genius level people, intellect, that are 23, 22 years old.
That's not the average person, Keith. Okay, the average person.
I just think that's a poor excuse.
Their frontal cortex is not fully developed.
That's your decision making portion of your brain.
Well, if it's your decision making, you're not making the decision to. How do I put this? You're not setting up your interactions a certain way. You're not customizing your relationships with people that you meet. And you're meeting so many fucking people, and he hasn't been famous that long. I think the way you're going to think from the age of 23 to 35 is different. And I think that like a guy like Denzel Washington, he seems to know people, and people don't think that they know him. Right, but he's also an older man that pays attention to things. Kai's a kid. There have been more popular people that have approached him that he didn't know who they were. His chat was like telling him who the person was. So I think that,
but that's not the same thing. You're talking about.
It is
people,
exactly the same thing.
No, some of those people he never met before. Like, they're like, Kai doesn't know who he's sitting by. He like, bro, what do you do? These are people he's literally never met. He's met Wale before. That's the whole thing. It would be different if Wale is just an artist and he's having this conversation. Like, he's just some R&B artist from the 90s or something, and we're having this conversation. Like, oh, Wale, I mean, not Wale, but Kai, you don't know who Brandy is? Like, Brandy is like such and such artist. Like, she sung this song or this song. We're talking about a person that he spent quality time with.
How do we know it's quality?
They're playing a football game together. They're on the same, I don't know if they're on the same team, but they're literally playing flag football together.
My thing is it's not my thing is if they were hanging out and had a personal relationship, that's a different story. Now you're making a choice. I just think that when you meet somebody at an event, it's no different than other events that you meet people, and you could be cool with them and everything. There are some people that I've known for years that I don't know them. We never hung out, but I know seeing them maybe at college back in the day, and like, hey, what's going on, dog? Hey, what's going on? But we never had like real deep conversations. Never got to really know each other, and I may not remember their name, and it's not any offense. It's just that I know so many people.
But that's the thing. It's not about he made it like sound like he didn't know that guy from a can of paint. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, anybody that and mind you, Bakersfield has a decent population. If I've been in the vicinity, and mind you, like a person that I might have just met, like one, like even person like here in the building, like people here in the building, if I seen them, if I got on the elevator with them and we've had like a brief conversation, maybe like once or twice, I would never look at that person like, dang, I ain't never. Even if I seen him, I would be like, dang, they do look familiar.
But he said he knew him. He just the name. He forgot he called him Well. He didn't even call him Wale.
He didn't say he knew him. He said the way he sounded was like he never.
After the fact, he said he had knew him. He said he knew that song.
He was like, who was that? He was like, Wale. Like, he didn't. That conversation he had with his chat didn't sound like. I mean, maybe in retrospect, he would connect the dots like, oh, this is Wale that sings this song. But in the moment when he visually seen him, he was like, oh, the chat going crazy. Oh, like, y'all know him? Like, oh, okay, I never even heard of him. That's kind of how he sounded when the thing popped off.
I think it's true. I think two things could be true. I think people could front on you, but I think that when you're a young man that is seeing that many people and you're reading a chat that's constantly going down and fast all the time, your brain, you got sensory overload, man. And taking on all that responsibility at that young of an age, I give him grace. And I think that he'll do better in the future, but he's a fucking kid. And we're old enough to be his dad. I also think it's true as a grown man. If you don't know me or you don't think you know me or whatever the case, I'm not going to get offended that you don't. I'm going to let you do whatever you want to do. Just because my ego is not going to allow me to feel that goddamn important. Like, it's not going to.
Yeah.
He had an issue with Demi Lovato a while back. I forgot what it was about, but I guess
talking about Wale.
Yeah, she was basically saying like, "That's why you were trying to get in my DMs and holler at me or this and that." He said something.
Yeah,
like it was something like him. He wasn't even clapping back. He was just saying something about her.
I don't even.
You know what? No, I know what it was. It was actually Demi Lovato's fault. When she was making fun of 21 Savage getting deported.
Yeah.
And then he said something about her, and then she said something about him trying to get at her or whatever.
Right. Yeah. I think for me, I think Wale got his. I think internet wise, like that was enough for people to kind of like go in on him, like, oh, here. Because I think also a lot of people on the internet don't really like Wale, but I thought what he did was like not that bad. I think
it's his history.
For me,
he has a history of doing shit like this.
Yeah, that's what makes it worse.
Yeah,
I think for me, if I am like, let's say, I think the only like comparable situation I might have to that scenario is like a Blast, right? Like one of my good friends like shoots a lot of videos for him, and I've been like, Blast probably don't know my name, but like I've been around him enough to where like he recognizes like who I am and in what capacity like I'm around. So like if I am walking through like a space and I'm like, hey, what's up, bro? And he like, oh, what's good? And then he like get on the internet and he like, dog, dude was kind of like, I don't know who is it? Like, just for him to like act like he's never seen me before, I think that would be a little bit like, I think it would be like a little bit disingenuous or a little bit inauthentic. You know what I mean? Just because like we've been in spaces, and I'm not even saying that he needs to know my name, like he needs to know like anything about me, like anything like that. I'm just saying for him to act like he's never seen me before would be kind of like weird. Like, dog, we talked before, like we've had a conversation.
We're having a circular conversation here. I think it's time to move on. But I think Keith has a point. I have a point. Ultimately, I will say too, make sure your ego is not so big that you expect everybody to know you, even if you met them one time. I just don't do that. Don't be that guy. If you feel slighted, move on. Don't even say anything. All right, switching gears. Middle school teacher allegedly gave students alcoholic drinks for the end of year treat. The teacher fucked up basically. The Mountain Dew has these new drinks. They're hard versions of like Baja Blast. This is like Baja XL.
Baja Thrashed.
Baja Thrashed, yeah. All right. A middle school teacher allegedly unknowingly handed out alcoholic beverages to students for an end-of-year treat. Reported the special education teacher, and this is special education. These kids already, I'm not gonna say it.
Oh dang.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. They don't need a drink. Had brought 7 cans of hard Mountain Dew Baja Blast and gave them to 5 students across 3 different classes as a part of a last day of school celebration. The teacher apparently didn't know the drink had 5% alcohol content. One of the students who was allegedly given the alcoholic drink was a 7th grader with asthma.
Dang.
Oh my God.
What did I got to do with anything?
I don't know, but a freaking a thing popped up. Pop up. I got it off. 7th grader with asthma. According, the student reportedly became drowsy and confused after having the drink. And there further, Aaron Corso said he wasn't told about the situation until hours after the incident happened. But I mean, it clearly says hard Mountain Dew on it.
I will say, to kind of give him some bail, there's probably a lot of things that went wrong in that. And I don't know what the teacher looks like. So I think one, like if you, if you look a certain way, like a certain age, the person in the store is probably not carding you, which is like kind of a no-no already. Like most of the time that you see those signs that say we gonna card you regardless. So I think he probably went in there and he just bought the alcohol because the person probably assumed he was 21, which is kind of like whatever. But also a lot of those drinks do look like they're kind of right next to, like, if say the soft drink, like the water, sports drinks are right here, then you got like sodas right here, and then you kind of slowly transition into like alcohol in the next fridge. Like the can is colorful, it looks like Mountain Dew, it might say like hard Mountain Dew on it or whatever, but I can see a world where he just buys it and he's like, oh, this is just some different type of Mountain Dew. And like I said, if you're not getting carded, like I can see how you would just take those into class and just give them to the kids. But I just think, first of all, like,
read the label.
You shouldn't be giving kids no Mountain Dew anyways. That's crazy.
Nah.
Yeah.
Either regular Mountain Dew is going to fuck them up. All that goddamn Red 40 and Blue 5 and all this shit is already in there.
Yeah.
But it says hard on it. Like, you got to, if you're a teacher, the problem with some of these teachers need teachers, man.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
Teachers need teachers.
Yeah, because, I mean, if you're supposed to be, I don't care what you're teaching, special ed or whatever. I mean, nigga, you might need to be in that class if you're giving people alcoholic drinks from not reading the fucking label. Mm-hmm. It says it right on the front. Hard Baja Blast. Maybe in his mind, he's like, oh, this is just a harder version. It's more sugar.
Nah.
You don't think he thought that?
I'm looking at this can, bro.
That's what I'm saying.
It says it has alcohol in there. And I'm not, I think he did something so stupid, like, and ridiculous. I wouldn't even buy my kids, like, freaking Mountain Dew. But I'm just saying, looking at the can, if you just go in the store and you grab a couple, it does say hard on it, but if you've never bought, like, hard products before, it doesn't necessarily, like, you have to know the world of, like, hard products to, and this is like a pause-worthy conversation. Yeah. But you'd have to know the world of, like, because it just says hard Mountain Dew Baja Blast mix.
They're going to chop that shit up, Keith. They're going to be like, You have to know I love it hard. I like hard.
Hard. hard, married, hard. Jamaica, hard. Big black dick, alcohol, hard.
Oh, man.
Nah, yeah. But just objectively, when you look at the box, it obviously says alcohol. It contains alcohol content on there.
Look, I'm going to put fucking, like, I'm going to write it in layman's terms. Like, Ebonics, layman's terms on the bottle. Like, nigga, this ain't juice.
But that's the trick, though. Like, that's the game. The game is to, like, make it look like it's Mountain Dew and put a little bit of 20 whatever or like 2% alcohol or whatever. 5% alcohol on the thing. Like, that's what they're doing, you know, because when you just look, even if I'm looking online, it says hard Mountain Dew mix pack. Like, if you're looking at the pictures on the box, like even this one right here,
right, it
doesn't say alcohol on there.
This is hard.
Yeah, exactly. So if you don't know the context or you don't know what hard means, it just says hard Mountain Dew. Like if you look on this Amazon thing, Mountain Dew original 24-ounce can.
I'm sorry, but just people are so fucking stupid though.
Mm-hmm.
They are. We had to tell people on the packaging to not eat Tide Pods. Yeah. That's how stupid we are.
Yeah.
My God. Like, what happened to people, man? They're literally on the back of the labeling of those Tide Pods. Now there's a little animated picture that says, do not swallow.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you be swallowing Tide Pods?
Right.
Oh, my God. I know whoever, them kids that was eating that, I know their stomachs was fucked up.
Yeah.
Because Tide Pods are so concentrated.
Yeah.
It's washing your clothes, but imagine when it's washing your ass.
And your intestines.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
You shitting out straight. Every time you shit, it smell like Tide.
Mm-hmm. That's the only time I would eat booty, is if they ate a Tide Pod and just cleaned their whole system out.
Doo-doo Tide. That's crazy. Doo-doo, hard, married, black, married.
Married, black, dude.
Married, Tide.
Tide.
You're like, man, they just.
I think it's, like I said, I think it's dumb, but I also think that, like, that's the lawsuits that happened back in, like, the 90s and stuff where we talking about and I was having this conversation the other day, where you got the Marlboro Man that looks so cool, or you got, you know, the camel, I forget the camel's name on the cigarettes or whatever, but the camel kind of just looking like a cool animated character. The commercials making them look cool. And even now, in terms of it happens a lot with the edible products. A lot of the edible products, they look like candy. If you go into any of these smoke shops and you look at these edibles, they look like it might be some sort of like edible Skittles or whatever, and the packaging looks literally like Skittles. And the only way you know it's an edible is it might have a small fine print on there that says like contains X amount of THC. So I'm not shooting nobody no bail. I'm just saying I can see how somebody would go in. If you 40 years old, you go in the store, you buy a case of what you think is Mountain Dew, you take it to the thing, they don't card you because they think you older or whatever, and then you just start passing them out, and you see the kids start getting twisted in there and slurring their words and stuff, and you like, oh dang, this is crazy.
Like, Mr. Arbuckle, I'm fucked out. It's like, what's going on here?
This is the best class ever.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, we got to get these kids. Something's wrong. But I'm looking at the flavors. Like, when you're looking at the can, you're like, wow, this might be decent.
Yeah.
But I just don't see myself. If I'm going to be drinking something like a hard version of whatever it is I'm drinking, the drink has to be edible, first of all. Not edible, but tasty, at least. I don't want Mountain Dew. Mm-hmm. Like, give me Cactus Cooler or something. You make some hard Cactus Cooler, I'm down for that.
I think for me, I'm a little bit weary already. Like, and I don't drink, so I'm always like, for example, my mom, for our wedding, she bought me like some non-alcoholic cider. Oh. And like I said, I'm always wary, especially with like ciders, because a lot of them they have alcohol in them.
No way.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like they'll have like hard ciders, or you know, these sort of things.
Really?
So you have to literally check the content on the back, because it's not super transparent. Like the one she bought me was like a Welch's non-alcoholic drink. And she was, in her mind, she was like, oh, this is going to be great. He doesn't drink or whatever. But I'm like I said, I always check the back because I know that I'm not trying to consume like 0.5% alcohol.
Make sure it's not fermented.
Yeah, exactly. So she bought that and she was like devastated because she thought non-alcoholic meant that there was no alcohol in there.
I like that. I like that apple cider. What's the brand? Is it Cantelli's or something like that?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
That shit fire.
Yeah, it is fire.
Like I be feeling
especially
like
cold.
Oh, bruh, you beat me to it.
Yeah.
I like to put it on ice or put it in the freezer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
That's like good. That's a good thing to have. Like if you're not an alcohol drinker.
Yeah.
You know you have a young lady
a little
over the
fancy.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah. She be like, here, let me pop the cork.
Yeah.
But it don't really have that. It's
it
just,
don't got that effect.
It's a screw on.
Yeah. It's good though. Good stuff.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be my next move is to get a bottle of apple cider and say it's like it's a certain type of wine. Yeah. And then she gonna start acting like she drunk.
Like she,
Like that there's no alcohol in that.
I don't know what's in this, but it's just making me feel frisky.
And this apple cider is great. It's like you wanted to do that.
Yeah.
That has no alcohol in it, man. There's no alcohol in that.
Yeah, you getting a gawk off the Cantelli's. That's crazy.
Like that is straight. That is just apple juice, man. Carbonated apple juice.
Nah, you ain't gotta say nothing.
You're like, apple? I love apples.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, apparently so, man. All right. Let's go ahead and wrap it up after this one here. Switching gears. We'll wrap it up with this. Men's mental health awareness. And we'll make this brief. Me and Keith had a late start today, man. We was, hanging out with the family and whatnot. And we got here to the office, man. It was super hot. We got the fans on, so we apologize for the shortness of the podcast and maybe some of the background noise you might hear a little bit.
Hey, man, it's hot. So
it's super hot.
You got to do it. We back last year and the years before, we would just be thugging it out, but we're a little bit older now. Our bodies are like, we don't like perspiring as much on the pod.
Absolutely, man. We might have to move some production over to my house where it's a lot cooler and we can run the air. But let's get into it. Men's mental health awareness. I think it's important to care about this, and I think I've been seeing a lot of negativity. I'm not gonna lie. I see some positive. There are women who love men in their lives, their fathers, their brothers, and especially women who have lost a brother or a dad or uncle. They love the men in their life, and I don't want to shortchange them. But for the women that are being, pretty nasty towards men, I just want you to know that, especially if you have a son, I hope and pray that you don't witness him go through trauma or problems. Because then you will finally find out. You're gonna find out what it is, and when you're gonna understand the plight of men when your son gets older and he gets his heart broken by a girl, like badly. Mm-hmm. She's cheating on him with one of his teammates, or I don't know, whatever the case. The worst things that can happen to men, or a man being depressed and contemplating suicide. I genuinely hope that's none of the men in your family, and I hope it is not ever your son. And I hope that your son is in a position where he knows he could talk to his mother and that she, will be there for him. Because the thing about it, man, there are too many men killing themselves. Mm-hmm. Way too many. It is a problem. And a lot of times when I see people mentioning or having conversations about men's mental health, they say, well, they have to want to talk to somebody. They have to want to get help. If they don't want to get help, then nothing's going to happen. I think that's very dismissive, because when women are dealing with things, I think that it's important for us to know about it as men. When women have postpartum depression or they have whatever the case, I think it's important for us to all know these things so we can be in a position to help women. I think that when you give a fuck about men, then you are at least in a position to understand the plight of men and to help us, right? But yeah, man, when it comes to any mental health struggles I've had, it has been only based on things like the death of my father, or maybe some financial issues, because sometimes if you're going through a financial problem, that could affect your mental health. If you're wondering how the fuck you're going to pay bills, that is terrible.
Yeah.
That's a tough time, because in society, motherfuckers don't care that you don't have money. They don't care. They just want their money. So we live in a world that if you do not have money, you are fucked. If you can't pay your mortgage, you can't say, you cannot, if you can't pay your mortgage, you can't say to the bank, hey, my mental health is terrible and I'm trying to make this payment. They're like, okay, all right, let us know when you got the money. Them niggas don't care about your mental health.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It's a very nuanced topic, and I don't feel like I'm doing it the justice it deserves. But I just want the men out there to understand that it's people out here that give a fuck about you. I'm one of them. I genuinely care about you. I see men go through shit. I got some people that I've called and checked on just to see how they were doing. And through course of conversation, I learned they were not doing good. These are people you would never think were doing that bad. These are people that sometimes are married. These are people that have family and kids, and they just feel stressed the fuck out.
Right.
So it's like, man, take a moment to look at your son's brother, husband, boyfriend, whoever it is in your life, and look at, a lot of times men are in a position where they're the shoulder to cry on, but they don't feel comfortable crying, first of all, and they don't feel comfortable leaning on other people. So do your due diligence in trying to help them and let them know that you're there for them.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, I'm not going to keep it too long. But I think to add on to what you're saying, I think it's important for, I think the relationships are great. I think, but I think a lot of people don't really feel comfortable telling their partner any and everything. So I think in those moments or those spaces where that conversation is not necessarily like the best place for your husband or for your partner, I think that's why it's important to have like real brothers, like people that you like, mature, individuals that you call like your brother or your sister, because like it's a lot of things that people go through, whether you're a woman, that like a guy may not understand, like just different plights that women may not, that different plights women may have as far as like, maybe their insecurities with their body or different things like that like no matter how empathetic a man is, like they just don't get it. So I think in those moments it's important to have that friend that you can just call and be like, yo, like this is what I'm dealing with, like, and maybe they can offer, they may not even need like offer any sort of advice, but they may have had like a similar experience and they could just talk about how, they've been managing. And sometimes it's just important to just get it off your chest. And same thing with guys. Like sometimes a guy, like, you could be dealing with something in your relationship or in your family dynamic. And, it's just like you feel like you could tell your partner or whatever. But really, like that conversation with your friend is the one that kind of that gives you the peace of mind that you needed. So, outside of like, just getting help in terms of like therapy and things like that, which I think is really good, I think it's also equally as important to have a really dope circle around you. Like just the other day, I was talking to one of my friends from like elementary school days, and he was a really good track athlete. And, we didn't really like go like deep, but we just like, he's just opening up to me about like what he was dealing with in terms of like what it felt like for him to like not be able to run track anymore, and he ended up getting a scholarship, and, he wasn't able to finish his track career exactly how he wanted to, but, for him to be able to open up to me, a person that we ran track together as kids, like that just kind of shows like, I created a safe space for him to be able to like to do that, and vice versa. When you just talking about like how it feels to be an athlete and not, be able to compete anymore and stuff like that. Yeah. We're able to laugh and like, understand and, empathy and, acknowledge like how he felt. And, I'm sure he walked away from that feeling like, yo, I'm glad I was able to express that,
look, I know men are dealing with a lot of shit because I've had conversations with random guys like during, like a service. So, for example, I had a mobile mechanic come by my house, and within a few minutes he was talking about a divorce he was going through with his wife, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't ask him about it. I wasn't soliciting any information from myself or anything. He just started talking about it. I let him talk, and I was like, man, I'm sorry you're going through that, man. Mm-hmm. He's like, I appreciate it, man. It's just a lot, man. And, you know, it's costing me a lot of money and stuff. And, you know, I was expecting to be with her the rest of my life. And he's telling me this.
Right.
What that tells me is maybe he doesn't have anybody to really vent to, and because I don't know him, he might feel more comfortable.
Right.
Maybe if he expresses himself to people that he may consider friends, the problem with some men is they don't know how to display their emotions, so they invalidate the emotions of valid people. Mm-hmm. So if a man is hurting from a divorce and he tells his homie like, I hear you, man, but don't be gay about it, man. Just leave it alone. It's fine. Mm-hmm. Your wife's not coming back, man. Take a beer. Here's a beer, man. Your wife's not coming back. It's like, that's not how you deal with problems. Mm-hmm. That is not how you deal with problems. If you're hurting, it's okay to be hurt. Your feelings are valid. Mm-hmm. You don't need to live in that forever. But at the same time, if you like, man, I'm hurting. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm hurt. Mm-hmm. Like, that doesn't feel good. If you're in a relationship and you get wronged or cheated on, it's okay to be hurt. Don't be like, shit, I'm cool, bro. I'm over it, man. Where the next bitch at? I'm cool. Don't do that. Stop doing that.
Yeah.
Stop. You love her. You still do, even though she treated you bad. But you got to move on with your life. And it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to hurt. It's okay to cry. Just get it out. That's the most important thing I could tell men. Because when you bottle things up, and you do not address the issue, you can get sick that way. Mm-hmm. I've known men who have had strokes, you know, from dealing with so much stress. You know, you gotta, you have to, what do you call it? You have to unpack that shit, man. Mm-hmm. If you don't unpack that, then and you're holding it in, it ain't gonna work. Unless you go out to a vacant parking lot and scream and cry and let it out, then you're gonna have some problems.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really important. And I think the last thing that I would say about it is that the only bit of advice that I would offer outside of what I said before, but the thing that I would say is that it's important to just define how you're feeling. Because like you said, I think a lot of times people brush things off. Like, you can ask somebody how they doing. Have you ever asked somebody how they doing and they're like, man, I'm just living, hitting the gym every day, going to work, stuff like that. And you're like, that's not how you doing. You know what I mean? Like, you're looking for some sort of emotional, answer. Right. But a lot of people sometimes what I'm saying is a lot of people deflect and they don't actually know how to say that I'm sad or say that I feel joy or say that I'm hurt. You know, they don't actually have that vocabulary. So a lot of times they just say, what they're doing when you ask them how they're doing. So I say that to say that I think it's important for people to learn the vocabulary to define how you're feeling.
Absolutely. Because for me, I'm tired, but I'm blessed.
Right.
I'm blessed to have a job. I ran really hard last week. I was exhausted by the end of the work week. But it is a privilege for me to have a job, for one, and make somewhat of a decent living. Because there's other people that aren't making anything. Right. It's other people that are struggling. So for me, if you ask me how am I doing, man, I'm exhausted, but I'm blessed.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
If you're sad, you'd be like, man, times have been better, but I'm blessed. Mm-hmm. That's the attitude you got to have. You got to have a cup half full. Because even after my dad had passed, man, that was a tough time in my life. I was still counting all my blessings, man. I was blessed that I was able to be all I could be for my dad. I feel like I exhausted everything as a son, and I don't have any regrets for how I dealt with that situation. So that made it a lot easier for me to mourn. But after my dad passed, I think it was a few days later, I was at work. And, bro, I got in the truck, bro, and I was a wreck. I was a wreck. The day after that my dad passed, or actually, no, 2 days after, I went to the gym and I was working out. And I was on a stair climber, nigga, and I was crying. I just eventually I had to leave the gym. But the thing about it is, niggas probably thought I was crying from that stair climber. They're like, God damn, that guy must be out of shape. That stair climber is whooping his ass. But no, I was legitimately sad and I was hurting. You know, DJ, he asked me at the wedding, he's like, man, you was crying? I said, yes, I was crying. Absolutely. I was like, I love Keith and I love, this day is I didn't expect to do that, but with me, I have no shame when it comes to how I feel.
Yeah, that's what happened at the wedding when I was up there. I don't know if you've seen it, but when I was getting the valves read to me. I just started tearing up. And, you know, sometimes when you're crying, it's not necessarily about the moment. It's just about, like, you could be crying from the one time when you was a kid and somebody stole your bike and you never really got to get your rocks off. But, yeah, I was crying and the bishop was like, hey, man, like, get him a tissue. And I was like, nah. You know, Nip said, like, I forget that song, but he's like, you know, basically talking about how one of his homeboys died and he in the booth rapping, but he's like, we don't wipe him, we just let him flow or something like that. I forget the exact lyrics, but I always remembered that bar that he had, and I was like, yeah, that's right. Like, you don't need to wipe your tears. Like, it's good. Like, it's okay. And like I said, those are those little moments where you just got to be like, this is a human experience, and we don't have to hide behind anything. So, yeah.
No, not at all. Well, look here, folks. If you made it to the end of this episode, we genuinely appreciate you. Thank you for listening to a Trucker's Mind podcast. I'm Eddie McGee.
It's your boy K Things.
We're out here.
Peace.